Good afternoon and welcome to the Big Show. The Big Show is what we call it. We do it every single day, and we hope that you enjoy it. We break down everything we can possibly break down when it comes to local Pittsburgh sports. And so, without further ado, I am Paul Zeise. I guess I should have made that very clear. We do it every day at the Post-Gazette, though, and hopefully we get what you need done or what you want to hear about. Hopefully we are able to do that. I think one of the things that we usually do is start with the Steelers, but in this case, it's kind of Steeler-related, just from the standpoint of it's the AFC North. I don't know if you happen to see it or notice it, but the Browns have come to the conclusion about who their starting quarterback should be to start the season. Now, obviously, it could change within the season. It might change within the season. Who knows? But I find it very, very, very interesting that after all we've heard for the last 6 weeks, the guy that got the nod is not Kenny Pickett, Super Bowl champion, who they traded for. And, of course, Kevin Stefanski spent 2.5, 3 months talking about how incredible he is and how he fits in and how he just needs a chance. And Kenny talked about how he never really got a chance in Pittsburgh and all this other stuff. Wasn't him. Wasn't Dillon Gabriel, who they drafted in, the third round? And Kevin Stefanski said the best quarterback on the board. We got to steal. Better than Cam Ward. Fits our system. Fits what we're looking for. Gonna be a star in this league. Wasn't him. And then, of course, it wasn't the most ridiculously over-talked about fifth-round pick in the history of fifth-round picks, Shedeur Sanders, who the Browns insisted that they got, basically first-round talent in the fifth round, who national pundits told us they got the absolute steal of the draft, who people talked about how he was blackballed and unfair it was, and he's going to show out. And then he had a reasonably okay preseason game. And, the national pundits and all of his fanboys told us, you see, he proved everybody wrong. Never mind that it's the preseason and nobody cares about the preseason. He proved everybody wrong. Okay, well, you know what? It wasn't him. Wasn't him. So, I look at it and I just say basically, the Browns made the decision that it was in their best interest to go out and anoint as their starter 40-plus-year-old Joe Flacco, who, by the way, they could have signed last year and kept him along as their backup, but they didn't even want to do that because they thought he was done. So just to review, Joe Flacco, not good enough to be their backup last year. I think he actually started a few games in Indianapolis, didn't he? Maybe 4 or 5 games in Indianapolis, actually. They sign him back. And, wait, they sign him back. And in signing him back, he goes from a guy who was probably just sort of going to be a backup option or whatever you want to call it, to a guy who is actually the starter. And it's kind of funny to me. It really is. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're aiming for here. but I hope that it goes as bad as I think it was. Honestly. I hope it goes as bad as I think it's going to. Honestly. I mean, you got to be kidding me, right? So after spending the whole summer hearing about they had the best arsenal of three quarterbacks in, three young quarterbacks in the NFL, the Browns have come to the conclusion that Joe Flacco, who quite frankly I think is actually a pretty good quarterback. I mean, I think he's been okay. But if you really look at what Joe Flacco did, when they won the Super Bowl, the Ravens, he went absolutely crazy for 4 games in the playoffs. But other than that, he's been kind of meh in the playoffs. I think he's been okay. I think he's been a guy, obviously, who's hung around as long as he has. And, he's proven that he can win some games. And so, I understand why they picked him. But again, just a review before we get to our guest, just a review. They traded for Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett, and Kevin Stefanski, spent all of OTAs and minicamp telling the world how they got to steal, how this guy just is unbelievable. He fits with yada, 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 right? He's not the starter. Now, he's banged up a little bit, but still, the season's still like 30 days away or something. Give me a break. Then they drafted Dillon Gabriel, who we were told, the Mason Rudolph thing, guy in the 3rd round who's actually a first-round talent, guy who's going to be, revolutionary, and, he was overlooked. Then in the 5th round, they take the most, talked about 5th-round pick in the history of the NFL. And we have 3 or 4 or 5 weeks of national pundits telling us he's the guy. Then he goes on in his first preseason game. He looks relatively competent. These are the 3 guys that we're debating, and then out of nowhere. The only thing that could be funnier is if Snoop Dogg, what's his name, Tyler Huntley or whatever the hell his name is, Snoop Dogg Huntley, if they named him the backup. That would be actually the only thing that could make this a bigger you-know-what show. But it's the Browns, and the Browns, of course, are always going to Brown. That's what makes me laugh. I just got a kick out of it. And I would say this. I don't know if I'll go this far. Actually, I might. I would take Mason Rudolph over the 3 young guys for sure. There's a debate to be had about Flacco and Rudolph. At this stage, I might actually take Rudolph over Flacco, but definitely the other 3. And I see a lot of Browns fans going back and forth with Steeler fans on social media. They're trying to make some sort of a case that the Steelers are relying on a relic in Aaron Rodgers. Let me tell you this. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers has left. I don't know that anyone really does. But I would take Aaron Rodgers 35 years from now over whoever is going to be the starter out of that 5-some that they have, and apparently it's Joe Flacco. Speaking of Joe, let's go to our good friend from Pennsylvania Sports Network Midday Show, a good friend of ours. That would be Joe Lednowski. And Joe, rather than beat my head against the wall and start off talking about the Steelers for the 75th straight day, I decided I'd have a little bit of fun with the Browns situation. And I think that there's nobody other than the Browns who could be so meandering, rudderless, whatever you want to say, and end up at a situation where their quarterback situation has actually become a little bit comical. I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
It does sort of feel like a SNL skit, doesn't it? And obviously where I'm at, it's much different than where you're at, because in my neighborhood alone, there are Bills season ticket holders, Steelers season ticket holders, and Browns season ticket holders. So I have a front row seat You know, Dillon Gabriel, I watched about 9 minutes of the game on Sunday. Dillon Gabriel did not look bad. And then, you know, I was kind of neat, 2 Friday nights ago when Shedeur looked good. I thought it was cool that the Browns retired his number at halftime. Kenny Pickett, listen, I know it's blasphemy, but Kenny Pickett was never it. You know, if Kenny Pickett was not sharing a residence with the Steelers, I don't think they would have ever wasted a first-round pick on him. I don't know. Joe Flacco, I don't know. Tyler Huntley might be the best option. Tyler Huntley might be the best option. But, you know, they overspent and had the craziest of hopes for Deshaun Watson, which, again, if that $252 million or whatever it was guaranteed came with a time machine, then it would have been money well spent. But, you know, Jimmy, I mean, it's not the Browns. I don't think it's the Browns. I think it's Jimmy Haslam. I think, you know, he's the one that is sort of on par with Jerry Jones' ineptitude. And then you think about what they sort of do to themselves, right? And you know, the Steelers kind of done some foolish things as well along the way, and we'll get to that. But when you look at, and I don't know what they knew or didn't know about Quinshon Judkins, right? Right. Charges were dropped, yada, yada, yada. They've got Deshaun Watson, and then Jimmy's like, I got an idea. How about Isaiah Bond? Right? And again, like, I know that the charges were dropped with Isaiah Bond as well, but like when you talk about an organization that just cannot get out of their own way, and it's not only the ineptitude on the field, but it seems like it's the ineptitude of the scouting department, the ineptitude of the player evaluation, the ineptitude of all of these parts where, again, it's nothing shy of an SNL skit.
No, I mean, again, I actually, even in my little monologue, forgot about Deshaun Watson, which we're told, you know, every day he's inching closer, right? I mean, they actually have 6 quarterbacks, and I don't know if any of them are any good. That's the funny thing. You know, they're saying if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. They've got 6, and I don't know if they've got one.
Well, I mean, the only thing that they've got going for them, that once upon a time, what seems like eons ago, Deshaun Watson was arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. That's really it. I mean, Joe Flacco.
But he never was with the Browns. By the time he
got
to the Browns,
100%. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. We talk about quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe. But if you look at the AFC North, you've got 2 young superstar quarterbacks. I mean, I think everybody probably would have Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in their top 2, top 3, top 4 at the most, probably in terms of who's the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Those 2 are, you know, definitely top 5, but probably in the top 4 if you really are honest about it. You know, I mean, obviously Mahomes and Allen, and then those 2, I think, and then, you know, maybe a guy like Jalen Hurts, you know, who has actually won a Super Bowl. You know, there's a couple of other guys, but for the most part, if I had the first pick in the draft and I could take any quarterback in the NFL, I probably would take Mahomes still, and I probably would take Allen maybe second, or Jackson maybe second, and I would take Burrow second or third. I mean, like, my point is, like, if you look at it that way. But anyway, you've got these 2 young, let's just call them hotshot quarterbacks. We can argue where exactly they fit. I mean, they're elite quarterbacks. And then on the other end, you've got 2 graybeard, former Super Bowl champions who are looking for one last chance at glory. I don't know if there's another division that has such a complete contrast in the quarterbacks between 2 of the teams and the other 2 teams.
I don't know. You might look at the NFC East, and, you know, it would seem like Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels are solidified. You know, we'll see about the New York quarterback situation, and obviously Dak is going to be Dak. I don't think Dak is not worth the, you know, the proverbial juice is not worth the squeeze. But your larger point is certainly there, and I think, you know, the interesting thing and maybe to segue to the Steelers a little bit, which is so goofy. So the Steelers are going all in an effort to save or the defense in Watt, and they bring in Aaron Rodgers, they get DK Metcalf, they do all these things that makes you feel like they're a play away, from being a Super Bowl champ. Yet they're, in all likelihood, they're still probably maybe the fourth best team in the AFC period. So what they get to the divisional round, they lose. Aaron Rodgers, comes back next year or retires? Either way, they're still in quarterback purgatory because at least the Browns theoretically have the draft capital. Because whose first round pick do they have? Houston's. They have another first. They at least have two bullets to fire that they could kind of climb up. Now I'm sure they'll screw it up. They'll draft Anthony Richardson, but I'm just saying, at least they've got what appears to be the bullets to move up, because that's what it boils down to, right?
I think the Steelers do too, though.
Do you?
I mean, they've got a lot of picks next year. I mean, they've acquired some picks for sure.
But you're not stacking third rounders to move up, 10 spots in the first round. That's not going to work.
Well, I mean, how many picks do they have? Don't they have and I thought they had another they could have as many as 12 picks next year.
Yeah, but you're still not. They'd have to make 7 trades to kind of. It feels like the Steelers draft. Remember the when YouTube first came out and the guy traded a paperclip for a house. Mm-hmm. When he traded a paperclip for a pencil, then he traded the pencil for this. That's the sort of draft day. They'd have to bring in Kevin Costner to orchestrate all the trades that any of those picks that would ever stack up to be enough capital. Who was it? What was it to move 6 spots last year in the first round was insane. Yeah. So it's so difficult to move. And again, I don't think the Steelers are going to be good, but they're not going to be awful. I don't think they're going to be awful. So
they're probably going to draft. They're going to draft in the 20s again.
Yeah, and I don't know. Do they have the bullets to go from 20 to 5? I don't think they do.
No, but I don't think they care right now. I think here's what this feels like to me, Joe. And I honestly have this is not like me, saying that there's insider information or somebody told me this or whatever. This is just me sort of reading the tea leaves. It won't shock me if this is the last year for Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. It won't shock me. If they go out, it feels to me like they're setting it up okay, we probably are about ready to make a natural break here, both sides of it, here. And so we're going to basically do everything in our power to go all in and see what we can do. If it doesn't work, you know what? It doesn't work. If it does, okay, then he can sort of go somewhere else, while he's whatever. But to me,
doesn't it sort of feel he's never had the success of Andy Reid, but it sort of feels like Andy Reid in the Philly situation.
Yeah.
Where the relationship's just kind of run its course and it was a hell of a run.
Yeah. And it feels to me like Omar Khan probably would like to have his own guy. You know what I mean? And sort of have somebody that maybe he's got a little more control over some things and, he's able to do a little bit more personnel-wise and whatnot. And I think the other thing is if you look at it, I think that this could probably be the end for, Cam Hayward, which would be the end of an era in some ways. So, I mean, it feels to me, what I mean by all that is it feels to me like they don't care about next year as much as they normally would because they're really putting a lot of eggs and trying to make something happen this year.
But they've still not done enough.
Well, we can talk about that. I mean, I think if you look at it, level by level, I actually, in fact, a cheap shameless plug, I wrote about this in the Post-Gazette today. Cheap shameless plug. But they need their last 3 first-round picks to all be really good this year to have a shot. I mean, let's face it. And that's especially true because if you look at it, 2018, 19, 21, and 22. Do you know what all 4 of those years have in common? The first round pick of the Steelers is not on the Steelers right now. Yeah. A, and B, in 2020, they didn't have a first round pick, but their first pick was early in the second round, a guy by the name of Chase Claypool, who last I checked is, hanging on somewhere in Buffalo by a string. My point is, you had 5 years in a row, right, which all of these guys, from those 5 seasons should be entering their primes or, in their primes, and 5 misses on their top pick, right? And really the only other 2 picks they have their top pick, Cam Hayward, who was like in 2011, and TJ Watt in 2017, right? So your first round picks have to be good. That's been a part of the problem, is they haven't been. And I look at that and I say, these last 3 picks are so important for this team, because these last 3 picks are the 2 tackles and the guy they picked to stop the run. And if those 3 guys aren't good, Joe, we can talk about receivers and corners and all the other stuff we want to talk about. If those 3 guys aren't good, it's over.
Yeah, obviously we spend an equal amount of time talking about the Eagles as we do the Steelers on the show. And, Howie Roseman, whatever he touches seems to turn to gold. But I think that what Philadelphia has done, and I don't want to say this is Omar Khan's fault or anybody. I don't want to say it's, but and this used to be the Steeler way, where, you could allow, like the Eagles allowed Isaac Seumalo to leave. And what happened? Nothing, because they just had the next guy. He was just there. Like, I'm not saying that, Landon Dickerson, and we still don't know how long he's going to be out for, but they've got another guy that is going to at least hold serve. And, to your point and how important this is, the Eagles have gotten very lucky. Jordan Mailata, arguably the best left tackle in football, is a 7th round pick. That is not the norm. But who drafts a right tackle in the first round? Well, the Eagles did. And he's an all-pro guy for the next 13 years. And, if you want to win in this league, or you want to win in football in general, you got to win up front. And, to your point where, Cam Hayward, and, think back to the 90s, the early 2000s, what made the Steelers so good was it literally a rotation of plug-and-play guys along that defensive front, and they just didn't miss a beat. They just didn't miss a beat.
I think the biggest thing is you can't miss. You just can't miss. And so those 3 guys, I think, are really important, Joe. But let's say, I think Derek Harmon actually is going to be okay. He's going to be a run stopper, which is all they really need him to be. I don't know that he'll give them a whole lot in the pass rush, but if he can occupy 2 blocks and fill a big hole and allow the middle linebackers to do their thing, he'll be fine. The 2 tackles are a complete wild card, I think, to me. I mean, I know we've got, these guys that cover the Steelers that go to camp and use all the jargon as if they're experts and scouts. But to me, I got to see these 2 guys play in real live action.
Broderick Jones was a reach to begin with. He only played like 8 games at Georgia. And I'm not going to punish Chris Fatano for getting hurt. Or Fatano for not Chris.
But my point is we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him play.
We don't know. The jury is still out on him in totality. Broderick Jones, quite frankly, has just not been very good. I think I agree with you with Derek Harmon. I think he will be in his job. I think he will be a winner because, as you well know, everything in football is opposite. Well, in his case, opposite's outside.
Right.
He's got Watt. He's got Highsmith. So his life will be a little bit easier. He's not going to get doubled as frequently as maybe, some teams without, a superior pass. Again, the parallel to the Eagles. What's it look like in the middle with some maybe unproven pass rushers on the edge like they have this year? It was really easy for Davis and the other kid from Georgia. My name drawing a blank at the moment. But like when you've got elite outside edge rushers, inside gets easy. Just like when you've got inside power, outside gets easy.
Right.
I think Harmon's in a huge – he's going to win. Like the Steelers' front seven, maybe against the run, wasn't very good last year, but it doesn't stink. And if all Harmon has to do is be good, and I think by him being good, people will confuse him with being great just based on the situation that he's in.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that's the key. He's going to, again, all he needs to do is stop the run. That's it. And if he stops the run, it's a win. I think that's the key. So, we can talk about a lot of different things. And like you said, you don't feel like they did enough or haven't gotten better or necessarily gotten much better. But I look at it and I say, the receiving core probably is still too thin. And the defensive backfield, if this was 5 years ago, would probably be the best in the league, although Joey Porter Jr. would still be at Penn State. But you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But they have added pieces there. And I don't know. I said this last week. I think the biggest problem the Steelers are going to have is weathering injuries because I just don't think they're very deep at all.
I think their biggest issue, or what would be the biggest issue, and I think that they struggled last year, and there's a reason they moved on, is that when the Pittsburgh Steelers are good, they're able to run the ball. And Najee Harris might be Hall of Nice guy, but he was not a threat that made life easier. And, I don't know if Caleb Johnson's going to be that guy. I think Kenny Gainwell is going to be very quietly a wonderful addition to what they can do schematically. And I don't know, it's Jaylen Warren. It's really easy when you're number two and you show some burst.
Right.
But can you carry that over to being number one? And I think, to me, more so than stopping the run, I think they've got 17 tight ends. Can they get in 12 personnel? Can they maul you down the field and then go play action and throw it over the top to DK Metcalf?
But the problem,
if they can do that, they can win the division.
The problem with their 17 tight ends, 16 of them stink at blocking. That's probably part of the problem. And so, I mean, again, I have to see it all work out and work together. I know that Roman Wilson had a really nice catch the other night, and everybody, of course, went on social media and said, they don't need a second receiver. Look at this guy, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, well, okay, could we calm down? I have no idea who he was playing against, but my instincts are that we're probably, a couple of guys that won't be out on the field come opening day, when the regular season starts. So he needs to do a lot more before I'm ready for him. And, Calvin Austin's been banged up. Calvin Austin has sort of been what I would call the twinkle in the right eye of the dreamy Steeler fan. Because ever since he's got here, he's been a camp hero and pretty much a zero everywhere else. So,
hey, if you want to ride the wave, man, why not see if they can go trade for Mitchell Tinsley? He dominated the headlines this morning for what do you have, 2 touchdowns last night, couple of catches. But again, we talked about this on my show the other day, right? Where the Steelers gave up nothing. The Eagles gave up nothing for John Mechie, who's young and has a lot of upside, and the Steelers are pursuing Gabe Davis. I know exactly who Gabe Davis is, and I don't think anybody's sitting around right now thinking the Steelers are just a Gabe Davis away from winning the Super Bowl. A guy like John Mechie at least has some upside. If Gabe Davis from 6 years ago shows up, sure, maybe.
Well, I would say this too. I would say this about Gabe Davis. He left apparently without a contract, which usually that means he's not going to sign here.
And en route to Buffalo, I think.
Right. He's headed to Buffalo, which he played there before. And one of the things that's always amazing to me is how incredibly horrible the Bills have been at surrounding maybe the best quarterback in the league with weapons. You know what I'm saying? And I'm assuming if Gabe Davis is their answer for a weapon they're going to sign, that's probably not good enough either.
Well, that's only because Eric Moulds and Andre Reed have already said no. So Gabe Davis is the third pick.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things. Anyway, real quickly before I let you go, Joe, the Pirates, of course, won a game last night that Paul Zeise started, which was a nice, refreshing change. But please give me one reason to tune in and watch the Pirates in September.
Tommy Pham bat flips after walks now.
Okay. How about this? The pursuit of 70. That's what we're reduced to.
You selling T-shirts now, Zeise?
The pursuit of 70 wins. That's what we are reduced to.
Hey, it's hard to watch because they do have the best pitcher in baseball. And
he's had a few leaks in a couple of his last couple of starts. He's had a few leaks. I mean, at one point he was en route to having a historic season when it comes to ERA and all these other things. But his last two starts have not been good for him.
He got shelled. What? I mean, that's going to happen. I mean, Zach Wheeler got shelled. I mean, guys it's baseball. That's going to happen. I mean, you just think, what would Skeens' record be if he pitched for the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees? And listen, I don't care how good you are. It's awful hard to be good when you know that you have to be perfect because 4 runs is almost too much to ask for.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree.
Hard.
Well, we have to see what it all looks like. But like I said, if you ask me, I forgot. I would be remiss. I forgot to bring this up. If you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, and you got the news today that your starting quarterback was one Daniel Jones, how would you feel about this?
Well, so again, we pay a lot of attention to Philly, and I grew up in that side of the state. I've actually become a huge Colts fan. Because I would love nothing more to watch Giants fans have to endure Daniel Jones being good on the heels of Saquon Barkley doing what he did. I just want all Giants fans to look themselves in the mirror and wish they were Jets fans. That's what I want.
You had $500 to bet and spend. How much of that would you be betting on Daniel Jones being good?
Well, I mean, Daniel Jones has not been terrible. He's not been terrible. He's not been good. He's still I think it's 65 touchdowns, maybe 37 the interceptions, but he's complete 65% of his pass. He's not terrible. I think the bigger issue in Indianapolis is we wasted what pick on Anthony Richardson? That to me is the real storyline.
Right. And what's interesting is my first introduction really up close and personal to Daniel Jones was when he played for Duke and my son was playing for Pitt. And Pitt's defense put Daniel Jones in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I thought, this guy is going to be incredible. Not so much. So sometimes the first impression is not the actual impression.
But he is way more athletic than your stereotypical big white guy is in the back. He's a little bit better at quarterback, I think, than people. But in his defense, he had 1 year at Duke. I just hope that these organizations kind of start to take a step back and realize that, just because we need a quarterback and we're picking 7th, we can't be picking the 104th best player in the draft at 7 because he's the 5th quarterback. We just can't do that to our organization.
Well, the game is always on at Archie's. Get down to Archie's on Carson Street, Archie's, home of 80-cent wings. Monday through Thursday, home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich. So get down to eat the sandwich named after me, which I had, by the way, last night. It's still delicious. And also, when you get down there, tell Archie I said hello. Tell him I sent you. and enjoy a good deal. And, of course, Thursday night you got the Steelers. It'll be on at Archie's. And also you have – let's see, what's else? Well, you got some Pirate games this weekend. You've got a few other exhibition games to watch. There's lots to do.
Tour Championship, let's go.
The Tour Championship, so get down to Archie's and watch, eat, drink, be merry, and watch some good sports. Also, I would be remiss, and I forgot, our new partner is FanDuel. I am looking at the Pirates line, and the last time I looked at the Pirates line on FanDuel Sports, well, remember yesterday when we talked about the Pirates with Paul Skeens on the mound, you'd have to lay $194 to win 100. Not so much today. Today, you can bet on the Pirates, and FanDuel actually, you're going to be plus money with FanDuel against the Blue Jays, as it is Mitch Keller going against Max Scherzer. Another one of these matchups that, if you could have Max Scherzer 5 years ago and Mitch Keller, well,
on a different team,
it would be very interesting. Anyway, you have to lay $155 if you're going to bet on Scherzer, and you to win 100, and of course you bet 100 on Mitch Keller, you win 130. So that's our FanDuel pick of the day. Joe, thank you so much, buddy. Hopefully we can do it again soon. Be good. And, of course, continue. By the way, I was working on my golf game today, Joe. I went to see my instructor, the guy I take lessons from, because I can hit all of my woods really good. And, of course, I'm old, so I hit a lot of woods. But I have suddenly developed a Steve Blass-like forget how to hit irons. And I mean this in all sincerity. I have no idea I have no idea what's going on. I have like a metal block now with my irons. And it's funny. My short game is actually really good. My long game is actually really good. It's the game that's probably 80% of the game. I can't hit an iron to save my life. Anyway.
Just got to keep your hands tight to your body and swing with your body and not your arms. Make sure you show your back to the target and don't get it casting over the top. Keep it tight. Get that shoulder on your chin. Swing with your back, not your arms.
Well, all I can say is I had a half an hour of that today, and I was no better at the end than I was at the beginning. I'm telling you, I'm like Steve Blass. Anyway, Joe, we got to get out of here. Thank you, buddy. We will do it again soon.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, Joe Ludnowski. I'm Paul Zeise, The Big Show. Do the Big Show a little bit early tomorrow, probably like 4:15, 4:30. I got to get with the powers that be, but we're going to do something like that because I got stuff to get to.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.